Can make better healthcare decisions, and part of the tools is really having the best education about what the problem is, because when you know what the problem is, it's easier to solve the problem. So what is a herniated disc? Well, we're going to start with the spine, and we'll walk our way through the spine and help you better identify what the disc is. So typical spine looks like this. Head's up here. Hips are down here. There's 24 vertebrae between the head and the hips. The vertebrae are the bones. In between each bone is where the disc is. So between the head and the hips, you get 24 vertebrae, and then in between each vertebrae there is a disc. The disc allows for motion of the joint. Vertebrae are designed to move in 6 directions: forward, back, side to side, and rotate, and all that motion takes place on top of the disc. The disc also acts a little bit like a shock absorber for the spine. Now, on the top where the brain is, off the brain is the brainstem, and then from there is the spinal cord, which runs down through the inside of the spine. So the spine is designed to protect the spinal cord. So all the vertebrae are really designed to protect the spinal cord. In between each vertebrae, where the disc is, there's an opening called the foramen. And it's through the foramen that nerves exit directly off of the spinal cord. So sometimes what can happen is you can have a problem with your disc, which will start to cause problems with the nerves, and we've talked about that. That's the sciatica. And there's 5 causes of sciatica. One of them, and it's probably the main cause, is the herniated disc. Now, the disc is a lot like a jelly donut in the sense that the outside of the disc, there's a thick material called the annulus. Inside the disc, there's a jelly-like substance called the nucleus. The nucleus gives stability to the disc the same way air gives stability to your tire. So when the tire has the proper amount of air, the tire is stable. But as the tire runs out of air and the tire pushes out, bulges out, the tire becomes unstable. You can't drive around on a flat tire. It's not good. So the nucleus, when it has the proper amount of fluid in it, is the most stable. So when the nucleus has enough fluid, it gives stability to the outer portion of the annulus. So the stability of the disc comes from the nucleus. Now, a herniation is where the nucleus starts to work its way toward the outside. So what can happen is you can develop a little tear in the annulus. So as it starts to tear, the nucleus will start to push that direction. And as the nucleus starts to push that direction, it'll start to cause the outer portion of the annulus to push out. Start to bulge a little bit, so you'll get a little bit of a tear. That tear is called the fissure. But also what can happen is it can start to tear out further. And as it tears out further, it'll push out further. And the further it tears out, the more the disc becomes unstable, and what can happen is it can tear all the way through. So we know that you can develop a little tear. Now the outer portion of the annulus, probably the outer half of the annulus, has nerves in it. And those nerves tell the brain when there's something wrong with the disc. And what can happen is as this tear in the annulus starts to push out and the nucleus pushes out, it'll push past this area where the nerves are, which would be right in here, and as it tears through there, it becomes very painful. So the herniated disc can cause you 2 types of pain. One of them is this pain of the nerves where you're getting tearing of the tissue, because the tissue is tearing as it goes out further, so you'll activate all these nerves and they'll say, boom, tell the brain there's pain. There's something wrong. Okay? That's the first type of pain you can get. This is the really bad back pain. This is the bad sort of burning, tearing back pain. Here's a top view of the disc. So the pink portion would be the annulus. The gray portion would be the nucleus. What can happen is that nucleus can tear all the way through to the outside of the annulus. Or what happens sometimes is there's still some fibers there, but it's pushing out so far it's just barely hanging on there. Looks like this. As it tears through, a healthy disc looks like this. Matter of fact, on certain MRI sequences, you can see the nucleus. It's called the T2 sagittal view. You can see the nucleus is white. So a healthy nucleus is white. You can see it right here. But as it gets darker, it means it's starting to dry out, which means the nucleus is losing some of its fluid. But also what happens, you want a smooth transition from one vertebrae to the next. And you can see down here what's happening is it's pushing out. This is an MRI of the herniated disc. So this portion of the disc is now pushing into the spinal canal. Looks like this. That's the herniated disc on an MRI. It's important to know you can see them. Okay? So there's two types of pain. One of them is where the annulus is tearing and you're activating those little nerves on the outside of the annulus. But there's another pain. What can happen is that nucleus can push all the way through the annulus and start to pinch the nerve. Okay, we talked about the little nerves coming off the spine through the opening. Well, the nerves, as they come through the opening, maybe you can see it here, through the opening here, if the disc pushes out and starts to herniate, it's going to start to pinch that nerve. So as that disc pushes out, it's going to pinch the nerve right here. Now there are 5 main causes of sciatica. We've talked about this 28 times, but the 5 main causes really are the disc in this space here. Disc degenerates, breaks down, but in this case we're talking about the herniated disc pinching the nerve. Okay, so the second type of pain you can get is the pain from the pinching of the nerve. And that pain will start to go down the leg. Sometimes it'll start just in the area where it's pinched. You'll feel a little pain in the back. Sometimes pain that goes into the hip. Sometimes pain that goes down the leg. Sometimes pain that goes all the way down the leg. This is the sciatic nerve. It's the largest nerve on your body. But it's the herniated disc that pinches that nerve. Because in between each vertebrae, there's a nerve that exits the spine. Nerves in the neck go into the arms. You can have a herniated disc in your neck and have neck pain, sometimes headaches, sometimes pain that goes in the shoulder, sometimes it goes all the way down the arm. Same thing in the low back, pinched nerve here, sometimes will cause that pain down the back. That's the sciatica. So there's 2 types of pain. Now, we treat patients with herniated discs. We did a video on do herniated discs get better? Okay, herniated discs do get better. They can get better. Patient came in to see us, did the MRI, looked at the outer portion here. Here's the spinal canal. Here's the herniated disc. So you can physically see the herniated disc. Patient started our program. We have a program where we take pressure off the disc. So we take a little bit of pressure off. We unload the disc. And by unloading the disc, the nucleus slowly starts to move back to the inside. So we did another MRI. Taking pressure off, doing exercises. Taking pressure off, doing exercises. Nucleus moves back to the inside. End of his therapy, did a third MRI. Nucleus had moved all the way back to the inside. And what it did is it freed up that space. So as the nucleus moves back to the inside, it's going to take the pressure off the nerve. Sciatica goes away. Goes away as a result of our treatment. If you take the pressure off in the right way and you do the exercises, the sciatica goes away. We had a study done. It was published December of 2016 that identified that our process is the best process for eliminating chronic back pain, herniated discs, and sciatica, because we have the ability to heal the disc. Now, if you like what you hear, I want you to like our Facebook page. I also want you to share this information. We can help people. We can help people in ways that nobody else can. That's what makes us the best. Okay, the research identified that our protocol is the best for herniated discs and sciatica. Share this information. Help your friends and family that need our help. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and follow us on Twitter. Now, somebody asked me today if we're going to do a video about food that's good for your back pain. So Monday, the day before Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about dark chocolate and how it's good for your back. But we're going to tell you why, because this is all about knowing why. When you know why, you can solve your problem. So that's it. Today's Friday. I'm done. Be careful. Subscribe, follow, share, tweet. Tweet, right? Yeah, good. All right. Go Bears. Go Bulls.